Hello everyone, are you ready for another adventure? It's me, Woki, and I'm back with another Fake Grand Order video. Anniversary is coming up. It's going to be here on the 5th of July. And with it come 2 GSSRs. And for today's videos, we're going to be talking about one of them, which is the Lucky Bags. And we're going to be saving the other one, which is Destiny Order, for another video. But that's going to be today's video. If you want to show support for the channel, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I usually wait till the end of the video to say this, but for videos that I know are going to be extremely long, such as this one, I ask up front. It does support the channel a whole bunch, and I spend a lot of time recording and re-recording anniversary videos about GSSRs. This one is maybe like my 50th take already. I'm slowly losing my mind. But yeah, feel free to leave a comment, tell me which one you're going to be picking, and let's get into it. So, Lucky Bag. First thing that you need to know is that both Lucky Bag and Destiny Order are paid banners, which means that if you're free to play, this is where you can stop watching the video. It hurts my channel every time I say this, because I learned this pretty recently. Apparently, watch time is extremely important. So if I tell people to stop watching the video, it actively hurts me. But if you're free to play, you shouldn't be tempted. You should be able to stay free to play. You can go ahead and leave. I've seen plenty of people who say I'm free to play except for I summon on the GSSR, which means you are not actually free to play. That's not how it works. You can't pick and choose. You can't uncork the bottle once it's been opened. But yeah, it's paid quartz only. So if you're free to play, you can stop watching and not care about these at all, because you won't be able to do them no matter what you try and do. The next thing you need to know is that they take paid quartz, which means that so when you buy Saint Quartz, you'll notice that on some of them it says bonus. Those bonus Saint Quartz don't count as paid quartz because they consider it as them giving you like extra fries in a bag or something. So the 12 Saint Quartz bundle, which is $11.99 for me, includes 6 bonus Saint Quartz for $18. Most people think, oh, I just need to buy that one. No, you're going to be 3 Saint Quartz off. So you'll have to actually buy the 99 cent Saint Quartz one, which is the 1 Saint Quartz 3 times, or if you want to buy, I guess, for 5 Saint Quartz, the $3.99 one, whichever one you pick. But if you want to go cheapest, it is the $11.99 plus 3 of the 99 cent one, and that will get you exactly 15 if that's the way you want to micromanage it. And the other one costs 30. That's one of the big differences between them. And the other big difference is that Draco is on there, and also you get to select the units that are going to be on this one. That's not the way it works for this one. There is no Draco in the Lucky Bags, and the way that these bags kind of shape up is that it's going to be 5 servants divided by women and by men, with some of the they-them servants being put on both the female banners and the male banners. And the 5 stars, the ones you get, you can't pick the one you want to get. It's going to be a random one selected between the year. So they actually describe it here. It will be 5-star servants that will be randomly limited. That will be random limited servants based on the pool of servants on the banner. And then there's also going to be a 4-star guaranteed. You actually don't get a 4-star guaranteed on the 30 Saint Quartz one. This is for this one. And among them are going to be limited and story servants, with the 4-star and 3-star servant pools are shared between the same gender categories. That's not true. Actually, the only 3-star that you can get on here is Zufu for the women. And on the man side, the only one that you can get is Zhangzhou. And I know this because I looked up some people who did the GSSR on Japan, and all they ever got on the women's banner was Zufu, and on the men, the one male screenshot that my brother was able to find, the only 3-star servant they got was Zhangzhou. So that's the way it kind of goes down. And yeah, of course, also with this anniversary, they are going to introduce the thing where when you use Saint Quartz, you'll get mana prisms back, not including the 11th roll. So you should get 50 for a single multi of something, which I think is what we'll get for here. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, that's the way it kind of breaks down. And now, from this point forward, I will be going over all of the 12 banners and giving you just a little bit about the units. For the most part, these videos are really more for the people who are kind of, they don't know which one to pick, so I will at best try and tell you as much as I can about the units. Some of these units I have and own myself and have been able to use them, and I can give you actual insight into them. And some of these other ones I rely on what other people say about them, so if I get anything that you think is maybe a little bit wrong or I've misconstrued a unit, please let me know, because the only way for me to know about certain units is for me to know when I don't own them. Like, I don't go crazy and summon on everything. because I ain't got that kind of scratch money, man. I'm not like the crazy JP Wells who are able to get like NP20 of a character. That's not me, man. But I rely a lot on very helpful commenters, and it's been a very nice so for that. And the other way to kind of approach it is this is actually a mindset when it comes to GSSR, because I see a lot of people who get kind of mad at GSSR because, well, they pick a GSSR that has a unit that they want the most, and they end up getting angry because they don't get that unit because they also picked the banner that featured characters that they absolutely hate on it. So I think whether you go down the path of I want to go for a meta pick or I want to go for the character I love most in my heart, both of those ways can end in heartache. Because if you don't actually look at the other units on the banner and weigh them in your head to say, like, okay, like, obviously, I want Castoria, but what if I get Summer Abbey? Well, if I get Summer Abbey, I'll be really sad, but what if I go for this banner? And I'm kind of just happy to get all of them. Obviously, none of them are Castoria, but I'm pretty happy with any one of these. I think you'll end up being happier with the second choice, even though it's safer. That said, we are all gacha players, and if all of us always pick the safe option, well, we wouldn't be playing gachas anymore. And some people will 100% go for the 1 in 4 chance of getting their favorite, and then they will just get mad and say when they get the worst selected on there. I just want you to know, like, hey, my advice is to try and pick the one that you'll be happiest with regardless, even if your favorite is on there, while also understanding that if you're going for your favorite, I just wish that you don't miss. Just don't miss is the greatest advice that you can have when it's a limited service. A 1 in 4 chance isn't too bad. It's kind of like when Pokemon Pocket runs that event when there's a 1 in 5 chance of getting something, but then you can peek into something and then you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting the thing that you really like. How often do you actually get the card that you want from that selection? If you ever play Pokemon Pocket, you'll understand that you still miss a lot of the time. It's not 1 in 4 chance is still pretty good, but it's not the end all be all. So with all that out of the way, let's start talking about these banners. With first, let me tell you the 4 stars that are going to be on here. For some people, this actually will play a factor because the male and man 4 stars, they do kind of play a part in case you want them. All the female summer units are on the 4 side, and obviously no, there are no male summer ones. It's actually a smaller pool. But if you're a man enjoyer, maybe a smaller pool is pretty good for you because you're like, well, at least I'll get one of the new ones for sure. Where this one is a little bit harder of a grab bag. But let me tell you who they're going to be on them. They're going to be on every single one of these banners regardless of what you pick. And it'll be one of the random ones. And if for whatever reason you got 2 4 stars, it will be another one of these 4 stars in here. So we got Summer Garrus, Summer Tomoe, Bargist, Summer Anastasia, Summer Ilya, Zenobia, Babo Sif, Canis, Nikitch, Summer Murasaki Shikabue, Summer Charlotte Corday, Daikakoten, Summer Zitane, Lacosta, Krimhild, Summer Sei Shonagon, Brynhilder, Summer Aris, Zufu, Talak, and Hephaestion. If there was anything I'd like to say is that I would usually pick a female banner because it would give me a chance at Daikokutin, and I love Daikokutin, and they are kind of a pain in the ass to get because they're limited and a collab servant. And like I also mentioned, the Zufu here is a 3-star, not a 4-star. You're almost guaranteed to get full Zufu if you get a 3-star unit on here. Okay, now let's talk about female banner number 1, which is the one that features a 1 in 4 chance of getting Castoria, Himiko, Summer Kiara, or Summer Abbey. So a 1 in 4 chance, that gives you about 25% chance to get any one of these, which is not bad. A 25% chance of getting Castoria, you'll never have a higher chance of getting that in any other banner, unless there's another GSSR which features a 1 in 3 chance of Castoria. It's a crazy high chance of getting Castoria. So the big hit in this one is obviously Castoria. I could spend the entire video, an hour plus length, talking about how good Castoria is. It would not be enough to kind of like fully encapsulate how good she is, how many teams she can fit on. Literally one of the best support units in the entire game. Art's dominance is here because Castoria existed. If you never played the game before Castoria, with how much of a, oh no, whatever, Arts has Tamamo and they can do something, and how kind of sad it was when Quick came up and it just was like, oh yeah, Quick's number 1, and Buster, you know, they have Merlin, and then, oh my god, poor Arts, they need something. Castoria completely changed that, and since then, it's kind of been that way. Very hard to power creep, basically always going to be there no matter what. If you're a new player, if you're an existing player, I would always suggest to have Castoria. She's just damn good. She's like the Rey Mysterio of servants, because it doesn't matter the era, as long as those knees still work, they're gonna put in the work, and that's Castoria. So obviously a 1 in 4 chance of getting Castoria is fantastic, and if you are a brand new player, I think it'd be a pretty good shot of going for this one. Though there is a big elephant in the room, which we will get to eventually. The next one we have to say, like, to show you how much I have to say about Castoria, I didn't even need to show you the skills, because just in general, the skills, I know these by heart. the how good they are, you're just gonna have to take me on it. The video would be an unbelievable length if I just went down by down how good she is. You can actually watch one of the many other videos I have, or any of the other GSSRs talking about how good she is. But just, you know, trust me, bro, on this one. Next, Himiko. Himiko, I really like Himiko. I think she's a fantastic Buster support. That's very different from a lot of the other Buster supports. She's a ruler, so she's pretty tanky. She has the ability to give the party 8 crit stars on her regeneration buff, which is really nice. She has the ability to give herself a demonic enemy bonus and a Buster performance for 3 turns, along with having a 50% charger and a way to just get all her Buster cards, all the crit, and all the crit damage for a single turn. For a single turn, 100% crit damage up, very, very nice. It means that in certain setups, you can have Himiko use her Noble Phantasm, take care of an enemy, and then for the next other couple turns, they can kind of go from there. Which I've done in a couple plus nodes where it was a demonic enemy. I made it so I got a bunch of crit stars. I made sure that her cards were there, and then she took them out for me. Her Noble Phantasm is also very nice because it gives the overcharge, increases overcharge of all the party members by 2. It gives them a little bit of Buster support, and then also gives them 50% crit damage. So it means after you use this Noble Phantasm along with her 3rd skill, she gets 150% crit damage. Overall, I think a fantastic support unit. Her number 1 team, funny enough, is a team that can't die, which features Castoria and Merlin. It's literally impossible. This is like one of those teams that can go to 1,000 turns just because they can't die in any capacity. It's kind of amazing. With the main issue she's had is, I've had this talk with a couple of newer people, is that she doesn't really slot into a bread and butter team. Her bread and butter team is the stall team. But what do I mean by a bread and butter team? It means in fighting games, a B&B is basically this basic combo that you can do no matter what. No matter what the kind of situation you're in, you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to bust out a B&B, and it's good. The B&B, for example, for Castoria is literally just 2 Castorias and let's say an AoE arts unit. Any of them will do. Like Summer Ibuki, bread and butter. Easy enough. There's not a lot of thought put into it. It's easy to do. Anyone can do it, and you're just like, okay, good to go. Himiko doesn't really have that. A lot of the teams that I've used Himiko in are really weird, specific teams that deal with that node and not any node going forward. And for that reason alone, I think for some people that's too much effort to be putting into a unit, and they don't really like it all that much. Which, I'll say fine, fair enough. So that's kind of the one downside of Himiko. But again, I really do like Himiko, and I think she's really neat. I love my girl here. And I think she's a good unit. Not a bad one to have for her, and I would understand someone trying to go for her. The other unit on here is Summer Kiara. Summer Kiara mainly suffers from the fact that FGO went through a really crazy streak of releasing summer AoE units until finally breaking the dam with Summer Ibuki. And there hasn't really been a unit yet so far that I think reaches Summer Ibuki's AoE artsness yet. There's definitely units that do more damage than her, don't get me wrong on that, but I think as far as like this is your go-to if you're arts, I think it's still Summer Ibuki. She ended the arms race basically. But what it did do is that it made Summer Kiara a unit that was already really good on release. She's still good, she just doesn't do the high damage that some of the other units do, which is kind of like pretty tough when your main class is Moon Cancer, so you don't really have that many like advantages against certain units. It's very tough, but I still think her kit is still pretty nice. I like the way it goes where the first skill you activate and then it kind of over time buffs the other 2 skills. I think that's neat. I like that her Noble Phantasm is focused on doing extra damage equal to the amount of debuffs they have, and then also having a weird instant kill ability as well that doesn't interfere with her ability to get MP gain back. Very nice. So I think overall a very good unit for sure. Just one that probably most people won't need if they already have Summer Ibuki built up in some kind of way, or one of the other arts AoE damage dealers that are just kind of generic and kind of going for it there. Because again, for the most part, Moon Cancer, you're not going to find very many, except for a couple nodes where you'll go like, huh, in your fucking face. What I needed in this situation was, in fact, an AoE Moon Cancer, who's a dumbass now. And in which case, you'll feel real awesome for those 2 minutes until the fight is over. And then you get back to reality. Plus, this outfit is very nice. I really like this first Ascension. I think it's really cool. I also really like her third one. I think it's cool to, like, slowly turning into Little Mermaid. I think that's cool. Not the big fan of the stage 2. I'm not that kind of person. I'm more, you know, classic seashell bikini. That's cool for me. So plenty of reason to want her outside of meta reasons. It's just because, yo, Summer Kiara looked pretty nice. And finally, the unit on here that is the big elephant in the room. It's Summer Abby. Summer Abby is not the highest damage dealing unit in the world, which means that for the most, let me put you into respectable Pope clothes, please, thank you. So for the most part, she kind of lacks a little bit of damage. I think she has some interesting stuff in her kit. A lot of people, by the way, are very negative on Summer Abby. Some would probably consider one of the worst units on there. I don't really think that she's one of the worst 5 stars in the game. Maybe not even close to some of the worst, because some of the units in this game are absolutely terrible. And she doesn't reach those tiers, but she does kind of reach the tier of, like, being maybe a little bit on the middling side, or as the kids say, a little bit on the mid side. But I do think she has some interesting utility, like this first skill being able to remove all buffs and kind of give a pseudo stun, even though the pseudo stun is asleep, and that would mean that you would have to actively avoid doing them damage. But if you wanted to damage them for that one attack, you will do 50% more. Her second skill also got buffed a little bit to make it so she can deal a little bit more damage, because they recognize that, hey, she really doesn't do that much damage. And on the third skill, I think it's alright, because it's a 50% MP charger, which is okay. The main problem here is that, yeah, it also is nice that she can remove enemy debuffs if they have any defensive buffs, and reduce their defense a little bit. The problem is that she just kind of hits like a wet pool noodle, which is very unfortunate. If she hit just a little bit harder, it would be a little bit easier. Like, obviously she's going to deal perfectly fine with Berserkers, because, you know, she's a foreigner, but most people do really well against Berserkers, so it's not like the highest bar to climb. So she ends up hitting a little bit like a wet pool noodle, and for some reason on the global side, I find a lot more people don't like Abby. On JP, they obviously love Abby, like they were celebrating when she got that Christmas unit, because it was a very cute unit that she got. But I feel on the, like, English-speaking side, I feel like more people are down on Abby, which is bizarre to me, because I don't really know why, other than you know, the reason that I'm clicking on the second stage and not staying on the first one, which, you know, fair enough. But again, she ends up being the weakest one on here, and I think it's probably a good reason, a good margin here. So that's the kind of one that you have to watch out for. If you care about any of these three and you don't care about Summer Abby, oh my god, this feels like a 25% chance to get, but knowing bad luck and how much they're like... Knowing how much gacha games like to think of the funniest thing possible, which is like, wouldn't it be really funny that with a 75% chance to not get Summer Abby, they still got her? So, you know, be careful out there when you make your choices, what I'm trying to say. With that, let's go on to female banner number 2, which is a 1 in 4 chance of Saber Ibuki, Kagekyo, Doman, and Van Gogh, and this is where I was talking about the they-thems being put into the female banner side, and they will also be appearing on the male side, which you can see them right here at the beginning. So, I think this is an overall very good banner, with not a lot of, like, misses on it. Saber Ibuki, which I don't have to spend too much time on it, is just a very good AoE Buster Saber. She's the main one that I use. She has a 50% MP charger, which makes her very easy to kind of use if you're one of the newer players. I've definitely had a couple newer players prefer the units that get a full 50% chargers over the 30% ones, because they're able to use them a little bit easier and not have to rely on Oberon, which is fair enough. Kagekyo is a very hard to kill unit who can survive like a cockroach in most fights. In the past, I used to be a little bit down on them, but someone said you gotta give them another chance, and I did, and they're very good at surviving. I'll give them that. They can really outlive everything because their guts is on such a short cooldown, and their evade is as well. If you look, if I can just show it real quick, Yeah, like a 4-turn Guts is really nice, and then they have an Evade, which is really nice, and this gets buffed eventually, which is pretty cool, and it's also over 2 attacks for 3 turns, so if they avoid hitting them, then you don't get hit by it. Doman is a fantastic unit, which is a shame because I hate Doman, because you're supposed to hate Domans. Don't come at me and say, like, wow, how could you hate him? He's such a piece of shit. I love him for it. Well, it's because he's a piece of shit. That's why I don't like him. I'm appreciating the character the way you're supposed to. You're appreciating him for a completely different reason. Yeah, Doman. They have this specific buff that buffs chaotic evil dudes, which you can get 100% crit to evil chaotic party members. So it doesn't only include him, it includes everyone. And the same is true for the attack that he kind of goes for here. It means that he's very good, and he also slots extremely well with Van Gogh, because as you see here, Van Gogh is also chaotic evil, so you can support Van Gogh, give them a bunch of attack, and give them a bunch of crit damage, and then they themselves will give themselves a bunch of crit damage. That works very well. So Doman also kind of, and the other funny thing is that he also works very well as an AoE quick unit, who is a fantastic evil quick unit. So just in general, whatever way you kind of want to use them, if you want to use them as a support unit for the quick chaotic evil types, if you want to use them as just himself to kind of take out whatever, you can use them both ways. Great unit, terrible person, which I guess is the way he kind of wants to roll. Next, we have Van Gogh, which is another unit that this is like my white whale. If it wasn't for already owning Kagekyo and Saber Ibuki, and not wanting Doman, even though there's a part of me that would probably be very happy to actually use a lot of his dumb little modes, I would probably go for this one, just because I absolutely love Van Gogh, and Van Gogh is like my literal white whale that I've been chasing and have never been able to get. Van Gogh has this ability where they're able to take curse damage, and their HP will never fall below 1 when they're taking curses. They give curses to themselves, they give it to the party, they give it all of that, and it's able to do a lot of crazy buff stuff. They have a Noble Phantasm, which increases the crit damage of existence outside of the domain allies by 100% for 3 turns. That includes them. Van Gogh is the reason why not every single dude from space has existence outside of the domain, because of certain units that should have had existence outside of the domain had it and can be used with Van Gogh, they would be so unbelievably broken. Like, for example, Cuckoo. If you could actually use Cuckoo, that'd be great, but as you can see here, they did not give her existence outside of the domain because they fear what would have happened if they were put next to Van Gogh. At least that's my headcanon. They've never come out and say it, but it's been pretty clear ever since they made this unit. They've been very picky about who gets existence outside of the domain. And yeah, this setup, you can either use 1 Van Gogh or you can use 2 Van Goghs. If you're using 2 Van Goghs, then you're just going fucking crazy nuts with all the crit damage that you're going to be doing. You're able to do a lot of damage. It's a lot of fun. I love this unit. I wish I had this unit. This is definitely a unit that's worth going for and getting. God damn. You can tell sometimes when I have a bias for certain units because I can't stop talking about them. So I'll move on from Van Gogh. That's why I think this banner is really good. If you're someone that already has a lot of the supports and you're not really sure if you want to gamble with some of the other ones, I think this is the best, like, yo, I just need a good unit. This is like it's like a peanut butter sandwich. You just pick it up and you go, oh, great. It's not the same highs or lows of how when you ask someone to make the perfect sandwich and maybe, oh man, dog, they fucked up my sandwich and now I have Summer Abbey. It's not that level. You know. Does the sandwich analogy work? Probably not. But anyway, let's move on to the next banner, which is banner number 3, which has a 1 in 4 chance of getting Melusine, Miss Crane, Morgan, and Karen. Again, this is another one where I feel like it has no misses. Again, I guess a lot of this also comes down to personal preference, though, because I'll get into it when I'm talking about the units. So first one is Melusane. Melusane is an absolutely busted AoE Lancer because they have the ability to give themselves 100% on their third skill as long as you're using the first Ascension or the second Ascension first. And then you activate this, they'll go into the third stage, and then from that point on in the game, they will be using an AoE attack. And they'll get their AoE immediately because it gives them 100%. That makes them a fantastic looper because that means that they can actually loop with the Black Grail because they'll be able to use these other two moves. They'll be able to get the 30% at the end of the last turn after using Double Vitch. You swap in Oberon and you give them the 70% plus the big boost. It's a lot of damage. Very good. Melusane can also be used as a single target Lancer, where she is really good at that. But the main issue is that her single target is arts, which means that if you wanted to actually max out the damage on this one, you need to bring in someone like Castoria, and then never use the third skill, because once you use the third skill and they turn into their Noble Phantasm, it's now a buster, so none of those 50% to art stuff really works for her anymore. You know, it's something that you have to work around, but it doesn't make it the end-all be-all. Plus, even if you were to say that, let's say you're at the end of the fight and you're just like, whatever, I'm going to use this third skill because this fight is over. You can do that, and it's going to be no problem. So yeah, Melusane, fantastic for an AoE Lancer, one of the best in the game. Plus, a fan favorite from Lost Belt 6, which is true for all the Lost Belt 6 units. There's a reason why there's a Lost Belt 6 Summer coming up for this anniversary. It's because there are fan favorites of many, and it's every single character from there. It's Oberon, it's Melusane, it's Bargus, it's Babo Sif, it's Morgan. Even Percival likely has his fans. I think I already said Oberon. Gareth is in there, even though that was a later addition. Everyone's favorite NPC Mike, which is a big maybe it's just me and my brother who are big fans of Mike, but I still wanted to bring up Mike as a Lost Belt 6 favorite. Anyway, moving on, Miss Crane. This is the one unit that I would say is kind of up to the person, and obviously for all these banners, by the way, if you made it 26 minutes into this is where I can say a lot of this also does come down to personal preference. Like I said, what I mentioned here, Doman is obviously, if you're looking at him as a unit, one of the best picks that you can have on here. But if you look at it from a personal thing, which is me, my hatred of him would make me very annoyed to have him, so that changes the perspective. That's why it can be a little bit tough to talk about GSSR, because I'll bring up one of these dudes and they'll be like, oh man, I hate Castoria and I love Summer Abbey. I wish that these other units weren't there to prevent me from getting Summer Abbey. For those people, I can't really do anything but other than go like, hey man, I wish you the best of luck on getting Summer Abbey. In general, I wish everyone to get the unit that they want, but let's continue on. Miss Crane, even the reason I say it is because she's similar to Himiko, where I think she's kind of a harder to use support that doesn't really have any big bread and butter combos like the other ones. For example, her Noble Phantasm, which is the reason you'd want to use her, lets her go to the back of the party, which messes with turn order, which is very good if you're someone. We're about to get another support with Summer Chloe, who's another unit that kind of messes with party support. There's a reason why one of the best plug suits in the game is the one that lets you change out one unit for another. It's because the ability to actually swap out servants is busted. That's one of the reasons why Chen Gong is also good, even though he's a 2-star, is that he kills a unit and then it brings in somebody new. Arash is very good because he takes himself out and then he brings in someone else to kind of repeat it, and then you get a brand new unit to use all three of those skills. So being able to use that ability is amazing. So obviously they have to give some kind of caveats to using it so that it's not just to run away the best one. And their main caveat here is needing 20 crit stars to do it. And she can provide those crit stars, or if you don't have a unit that just gives out crit stars for free, by just having units that are costume owning, because as long as you have 2 in the party, you'll get 20 from this, which is enough to activate her Noble Phantasm. And she has 100% NP charger, so that's why I think she is a very, very good support. But I've had it from newer people who say like, I really don't know how to use Miss Crane. Is there any just like generic team I can use? And it's kind of like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of variables at play that I think is very fun to kind of use, but it's hard for me to just say, oh, just use them like this, because that's it's a little bit harder than that. You have to put a little bit more thought and effort into it than that. So that's why I say, like, even though I think there's no misses on here, for some players who are not a fan of like having to think that far ahead, they're not going to be digging Miss Crane or her playstyle all that much. Next is Morgan, similar to what I said about Melusane. Fantastic unit. Fantastic at multi-core farming, which is... multi-core is like another form of farming where you don't use the generic supports, like you don't use Castoria, you don't use Koyanskaya, you don't use Summer Scotty. You use all units that are able to deal damage themselves, and they're able to buff themselves and the party, and they're able to just function that way through a multi-core type setup. And Morgan is very good at that because she can give herself 50%, and there's an option for her to give a party member maybe 20%, but along the way she is able to buff their attack a little bit, reduce the enemy's defense a little bit, and then also increase your party MP generation rate. She has a bonus against the man attribute, so if you're fighting someone with the man, you're going to be doing 150%, though if you're at MP level 1, your damage can be a little bit on the weaker side. And she also has a very nice third skill, which allows her to kind of stick into harder fights, because she's going to have this ability which... Granting self-guts for 1 time 3 turns is nice. Increasing your crit star absorption rate for 3 turns is nice. Increasing some crit damage is nice. But the part that's important here is the grant self a regeneration buff for 3 turns, reduces all enemies' attack for 1 turn, every turn for 3 turns, and then also reduces their critical attack chance every turn for 3 turns, and then you gain some crit stars. So this is a crit bomb, along with giving your opponent a 20% less chance to crit you and deal less damage, which is important because a lot of berserkers die to getting crit once. They get crit once and they leave the stratosphere, never to be shown up again. So Morgan, fan favorite, fantastic unit. On the JP side there for a while, they were considering her better than Arjuna Alter, which I still stand that even if she has a little bit more utility than him, Arjuna Alter does hit a very hard fuck ton. So I still consider him a really, really good ass unit for that reason alone. But understandable if you wanted to get in here for Morgan. If you miss on Morgan, I think it's not going to be that bad because you'll get one of these 3 units that are still pretty good. Same is true for Melusane. If you're going for her, if you miss her, you'll get one of these 3. And the last one I mentioned here, you saw I started doing the wrap-up and I did not mention her. It's Karen. I don't own Karen, but one time I got yelled at by a Karen fan because I said, are they even good as a ruler unit who uses quick? And they were very quick to shut me down and say, actually, she's one of the best in the entire game. So, Karen is very good. I didn't agree with them that says she was the overall best quick unit, but they did make a lot of good points, at least. I still think Doman is likely the best in terms of that, at least at the time of when he made that argument. Maybe times have changed a little bit since then. It might be Rikyu, and because of their berserkerness right now. But Karen is still a very good unit because they have a way to farm with their quick unit. Duh. Quick units can have a little bit of trouble farming sometimes, but she doesn't really have those issues, which is nice. She has a bonus damage against chaotic dudes, which is also very nice. Overall, very good. Plus, she is someone from another series, so I can see someone liking her for that reason alone. So yeah, this is another kind of solid banner choice. I think in general, outside of a couple banners, I think any one of these banners is likely very good to summon on, and what it kind of makes it a little bit difficult to say, okay, but which one of these do I actually summon on? Like, even I don't fully know which one to summon on. And I've recorded this video at least 50 times, and I still have not really come away with a conclusion yet. But let's move on to the next banner and see maybe by the end of it if I can figure out one. Female banner number 4, that's a 1 in 3 chance of Summer Okita, Koyanskaya of Light, and Summer Kama. Very good chance. That means it's a 33% chance to get any one of these 3 units. Not bad. The main focal point on this one is, of course, Koyanskaya of Light. She is the Buster support to Castoria's art support. She completely changes the way we evaluate Buster units now. A lot of them kind of get valued on their ability to get at least to 6-turn cooldown, so they can be used with this ability here. This ability gives 50% NP and then also reduces their skill cooldowns by 2. So you'd want to use all your skills on turn 1, and then use both of these with the 2 Koyanskaya so that all your skills get a cooldown of -4. So on the 3rd turn, as long as you reach 6, you're able to use your skills again. That's on the global side currently, because eventually on JP side they add this. So when we get this, that kind of changes it to where you can actually use someone with a 7. But for right now, just know that that's kind of the way it goes. So we don't have skill reloading yet in our game, so this is the kind of way we have to go for. But yeah, a fantastic Buster support. She's able to give crit stars, which is very nice with Cuckoo, who has a lot of her kit needing crit stars on turn 0. And she's able to give it at turn 0, like literally turn 1. Sorry, I said turn 0. I turned into a Yu-Gi-Oh player there for a second. She's able to give it like on turn 1, give them crit stars, which is very nice. I guess someone giving it on turn 0 would be on when they enter the battlefield, I guess. So yeah, fantastic support. Obviously, one of the easiest to go to. If you're missing out on a Buster support, a 1 in 3 chance of getting her, that's a pretty good deal in my opinion. And if you miss, you get one of 2 summer units that are fan favorites and summer units, so people like them. Okita Altar is the summer Okita Altar that is the summer Okita to use if you want to use a good summer Okita. Actually, the good version of summer Okita, which is sad to say for regular Okita. But yeah, they're a quick AoE for Saber, which is pretty nice. They're able to farm effectively. They look good in a swimsuit. What more do you actually need? And the same is kind of true for Summer Kama. Similar to Kiara, she kind of suffers from the fact that Summer Ibuki exists. So if you have Summer Ibuki, you always kind of use Summer Ibuki unless you put a lot of effort into your Summer Kama to kind of reach her level and stuff like that. But even before then, she was on par with Space Ishtar as one of the best AoE arts units in the game. It's just one of those things where unfortunately someone showed up and kind of ate her lunch, and I kind of also blame in general the quick turnaround that is arts units. Arts AoE units went through the world's craziest like power creep in such a short amount of time, and we still kind of live in that kind of like, okay, well, a lot of these units that were really good for a single year probably need a little bit of help to reach back to the level that they had. But I still think is a really good choice, a really solid unit, and also a very good unit in general that is in a swimsuit, has a bird. Check out that bird. Pretty cool unit. I like her. So yeah, this is one of those banners where if you're missing Koyanskaya, it just kind of makes sense. The only reason you wouldn't want to summon on this is for whatever reason you hate Summer Okita Altar and you hate Summer Kama for some reason. Like you resent the fact that Summer Kama doesn't have her man skin, and you're just like, this is injustice. Which, you know, good for you. And then on the opposite end of that, we have the next banner, which is female banner number 5, which features Akoni, Jacques de Molay, and Koyanskaya of Darkness. I don't know why you would summon on this banner. All of these are basically kind of niche units. Okoni is very nice because she is a single target caster for quick, and there's just not a lot of those in the game. So if you ever need a single target, if you want a single target caster for quick, this is your unit. The problem is hands raised. How many people want that? About 2 people rose their hand out of 100. It's not very many. I would like it. I would kind of like her for that reason alone, but you know, I don't have her at the moment, which is unfortunate. Jacques de Molay kind of suffers from the fact that she is a quick foreigner, and she's not the best quick foreigner, but she does look very cute, so that's kind of good enough. She kind of doesn't have anything too crazy outstandish outside of the fact that her noble phantasm is called Friday the 13th, which is a fantastic name for a noble phantasm. Just a great name, I'm not going to deny that. And then there's Koyanskaya of Darkness, who needs some buffs. The main issue she has, I mean, she had issues beforehand, where she wasn't really doing that much as spectacular as far as damage goes. And then they released Cuckoo, and then there was just no reason to ever use Koyanskaya of Darkness unless you were just a big fan of Koyanskaya of Darkness. So this is one of those, like, this is maybe the most hyper niche banner out of all of them, because I don't really have, outside of maybe Koyanskaya of Darkness, I really don't have that much bad to say about anyone. Even with Koyanskaya of Darkness, it's still Koyanskaya of Darkness. She still looks nice. Like, this outfit is very good. Very cool hat. Who doesn't like that hat? Big ears. Very cool. Like, there's reasons to like the unit. It's just that their damage isn't really there. And then, for me personally, I have an MP5 Cuckoo. Even if my Cuckoo was MP level 1, I would never use Koyanskaya of Darkness over her. It's just not... I don't see a world in which I would ever do it unless they started buffing that girl with crazy steroids where she's hitting, like, Batista in his prime era in SmackDown or something. Like, that's the level... No, he was never on SmackDown. I mean, he was on SmackDown. But I guess his prime era was really on WWE Raw. I lost the point of what I'm saying. Point is, very niche banner, not for everyone, but if you're someone who really likes one of these 3 units, a 1 in 3 chance is a very good chance of getting one of your girls if this is the banner for you. Next, we have female banner number 6, which features a 1 in 4 chance of the Trung sisters, Bakken, Super Bunyan, or Bazette. Bazette is likely the unit people would want to go for here, because Bazette is a fan favorite character, which is for a good reason. She's cool as hell. I like Bazette a whole bunch. She has a counter on her Noble Phantasm, and also, she completely devastates certain parts in Lost Belt 7. Like, there's a boss in Lost Belt 7 where you just use Bazette, completely fucking dominates the fight. Ends it so quick, it's insane. I used a friend for that fight, and I was like, holy crap, she really just, like, jobbed them out. It was insane. So I really like Bazette. She's a really cool unit, really fun to use, very different, probably if you can't wrap your head around this Noble Phantasm, which is a counter one where you use it and then on your opponent's turn you kind of tack them down like that. It's funny because this is one of those units that you can even farm with, because they'll take out units who are attacking, but then the one problem she has are units who don't attack. Because if they don't attack her, then she can't hit them. It's very unfortunate that that's her one kind of negative, but it is a very funny negative to have. But anyway, that's Bazette. And a 1 in 4 chance of Bazette is not bad. The rest of the units are kind of like up to your discretion. I'll say Bakken is a very good AoE writer, I believe. Yeah, AoE writer for arts. She has a bunch of dogs. She's really cool. Not a lot of people talk about Bakken, and I haven't actually had a lot of people talk about her to me specifically who have her. But I think she's just overall pretty solid as far as an AoE writer goes. And the other units on here are kind of where the hit and miss kind of come into play. Trung sisters, I think, are okay if you're looking at them as a support saber for the grand battles, because in the grand battles their kit makes a little bit more sense. They have a little bit of support here because their main gimmick is really just kind of focused on arts and buster, and there's not really anything like cool about that at all. It's actually kind of like that's nice, I guess, but nothing like really super exciting. But if you use them as a support unit for the Grand Saber fight, if you don't know, the Grand Saber fight is something on the JP. You can only fight it with sabers, and since there's not a lot of support sabers, that allows kind of some units like this that are support sabers that usually don't get to use their support capabilities because they're for the most part being used for big fights or something, and they don't really get to shine all that much. You can use them as that in there, and it's pretty cool. And then there, in that mode, I can see that being kind of useful because it does recover parties' HP, it does buff them in attack, and it does also overcharge their NP once the strengthening comes in for us, which it should be by the time the grand battles come in. But you know, nothing too crazy outside of, for them. They don't really have anything that they're really stand out as something good. Even their support isn't like something crazy like Bride Nero or some of the other support sabers out there. They're just kind of, you know, in a general sense, good. Just nothing that really tickles the fancy bone. And talking about tickling the fancy bone, this one is a super controversial one because it's Super Bunyan. Super Bunyan, you either think Super Bunyan is one of the worst 5 stars in the game, or you're from Japan and you believe Super Bunyan is one of the best 5 stars in the game. The reason is that her main mechanic is built around getting likes. This is one of my favorite units, by the way, so I can tell you about this, no problem. Her main mechanic is kind of trying to get likes based off of this, and then the more likes you get, the stronger they get. The problem is that this like system is very tough to actually follow through. So, and she doesn't deal that much damage at MP level 1, so you have to actually put an insane amount of investment into them, and it's just for a unit that doesn't end up being that powerful, that unless you put heavy investment into them. Now, the reason usually on our side, most people who speak English wish that Super Bunyan was a little bit better in her skills. But I realized after Super Bunyan got this buff to her Noble Phantasm, I looked at this buff and I said, this doesn't really help them all that much except for their damage in their NP, which isn't really where a lot of my problem was coming from. It was really their skills, because their skills aren't anything too crazy to look at, because like, oh yeah, vision, like a 30% to your own charge and then overcharge parties NP stage, for a single turn. Not the greatest thing in the world. This increase to your own attack and increased party's buster performance is like just kind of generically good, which is like whatever. Sealing NP is okay. Reducing critical chance is okay. Increases party's crit star absorption on buster cards is like, it's fine, but it's nothing like too crazy. When this buff came out for her Noble Phantasm and I was feeling like that's not enough to really help her, there was actually a groundswell of people in Japan angry because they didn't understand why they were buffing Super Bunyan when she was already one of the best units in the game. Now, I just literally got off telling you a bunch of reasons why Super Bunyan is not one of the best units in the game. Why are they feeling this way? The reason is Super Bunyan has a 2-second long and Noble Phantasm. And when you're grinding, a 2-second long Noble Phantasm means you can get even more grinding in. So that's the reason why they really like Super Bunyan. It's a very silly reason, but once I started using them with that kind of mindset, I have a grind team that is Super Bunyan and Bunyan, and I'm not going to lie, it does take, at sometimes, if I'm able to use both of them, like under a minute to do anything grinding related, because they literally just pop their skills, use their Noble Phantasms, and both of their Noble Phantasms combined maybe take up a total of 7 seconds. It's crazy. All the time I spend in the fight is me clicking skills, and that takes up maybe 20 seconds at most, maybe 10 seconds. And then when I finish that, I use their Noble Phantasm, and it really doesn't anything. Like, most of the big time wasters come from scene changes and stuff like that. So if you put a lot of investment into Super Bunyan, like giving them Noble Phantasm level 5, you'll have a unit that deals a lot of damage that has a 2-second long NP. But of course, not a lot of people want that out of their units, and some people aren't super crazy farm-pilled either. So it ends up being this unit where you fall either on the side of Super Bunyan is just kind of weak, man, or you fall into the camp of, holy crap, Super Bunyan, that's insane. You're either Luffy in hating the pie, or you're Blackbeard enjoying the pie. I can't make that decision for you. Currently, I'm Zoro. I'm lost. I don't know how to feel. I can't deny that that Noble Phantasm is really fast. But that's enough talking about this banner. I probably spent more time talking about Super Bunyan than I did some of these other units that are better than her. I probably spent more time talking about Super Bunyan than I did Bazette, but that shows you that I own Super Bunyan and I failed to get Bazette. Next is female banner number 7. We're almost there to the end and almost to the males. We're almost there, everyone. Lock in. Female banner number 7 is a 1 in 4 chance of getting Summer Ibuki, Summer Scotty, Archetype Earth, or Lady Avalon. This is another banner where I feel like this is a lot of hits. This is some crazy hits going on here. Summer Ibuki, I've already kind of explained here, but she's currently on our version of the game, the go-to for arts farming. Just fantastic across the board. Even at MP level 1, I think she does a lot of damage. She can get in quick, get in dirty. Very nice, very big unit. The only problem I have with her is that she has an extremely long Noble Phantasm. This is someone who has seen that Noble Phantasm too many times. It's a very long one, and at a certain point, while it's nice to see her throw it back to put up the snake tails, at some point you've seen it all, and you've seen everything. I still appreciate it, though, every time she does it, though. It's a very nice little smile she does. Next is Summer Scotty. This is similar to Koyanskaya and Castoria. She is the main go-to for quick, so it's understandable if you wanted to go for her because most people don't prioritize quick, and you're like, you know what, I can save it for the GSSR. This is great because if you miss on her, you get an arts performer, you get a fantastic multi-car former with a little bit of an asterisk that I'll talk about when I get to her, and one of the best Buster AoEers. Oh, I guess the other thing I should mention about Summer Ibuki, because I didn't even want to bring it up because I don't really see it as a valid criticism. Some people can't handle the Raida art style. They can't handle all this. They look at this and they go like, this is disgusting. This is a man's fetish on display. I would never use this as one of my main servants. And what I say to them, they're fucking weak. That's it. I just wanted to bring it up before someone brings it up in the comments because it literally comes up every single time I talk about Ibuki. I'm also playing around, so don't take it seriously. It's okay. I understand. It's a very polarizing art style. It's just that I really like it, so I don't really find an issue with it. But there's nothing wrong with finding an issue with it if you do find it. Summer Scotty. Summer Scotty's really cool. She's really cute. Anyway, she's a quick support. She's a very good quick support because she can also be used as the actual quick support herself if you're someone who is still waiting to build out some of the other quick units. If you're a big fan of Scotty Skahawk, that means you can use an entire team of Scotty and Skahawks, because Skahawk's Lancer form, they made it so that you can actually target with the quick buff, so you can actually give it to her on the final turn. I actually had a team where it was literally just all the Scotties and Skahawks. It was an awesome team. I love that team. It's a really fun one to use. And yeah, I think they did a very good job. The thing that's different about her is that her quick performance also increases crit damage of Buster cards by 100%. So if you're using 2 Summer Scotties, even though none of her... She has a little bit of like Buster supports, because on this second skill, she increases Buster performance by 15%. So if you're using 2 of them, that's 30%. So it's 30% increase to Buster, and then a 200% increase to crit damage to 1 unit on their Buster cards. It's pretty funny. It results in a lot of units who are Quick and Buster, because Quick is very good at getting a bunch of crit stars. If they ever have a Quick and Buster filled kind of kit, they can take advantage of it very easily. Like for her example, she only has 1 arts card, so she's able to take advantage of it herself. I think she's a really cool unit, and it's understandable if you want to go for her because she's also very good. I don't think she probably reaches the highs of Castoria and Vitch, where Castoria and Vitch kind of define what Quick is. Summer Scotty just kind of makes Quick better, but is it the thing that like completely changes Quick to be like, no, this is how we evaluate Quick units now because of that? She doesn't really do that, but I still think she's really she's obviously the go-to if you want to get a quick support in. Next, we have Archetype Earth. Archetype Earth is obviously an extremely good unit, but it is also the big red flag on this banner, and I'll explain why. So obviously, multi-core farming, like I mentioned, is something using only that one specific unit to farm. This is a great unit to do that with, because her second skill gives 100% Noble Phantasm to an MP Charger. So that means that she's able to instantly NP with her, which means you can use her with the Black Grail, which means you can do a lot of damage. The issue here is that you'll see here, she has a cooldown of 7. So on our version of the game, you would have to use someone, like let's say Summer Ibuki, because she actually has this skill. She has the ability here to reduce skill cooldowns by 1. What you would want to do is to use Archetype Earth on turn 1, use this skill right here, and then the other ones to buff her up. Next turn, double Koyanskaya, and then on the final turn, swap into Summer Ibuki, reduce that skill cooldown by 1, and then you'll finally be able to use the second skill and you'll get back your Noble Phantasm. That means it locks you out of Oberon, and you'll also see that this is only something that we have to currently do on the global side. On Japan, they fix that with this 5th skill. You just give her this 5th skill as an append, and then it makes her be able to be used with Oberon and Koyanskaya, which would allow you to be a little bit better with MP level 1. But the problem is that in our current version, having her at MP1 means that she's going to be a little bit weak because of her Moon Cancer ability here. She's not going to be doing the maximum amount of damage that you need at MP level 1. I think most people say that MP3 is kind of the level to get Archetype Earth as a fully functional unit, which is a heavy investment for a lot of people, by the way. I'm not going to lie, that's very heavy to say, like, at minimum MP3, maybe MP2 if you get her to Golden Foe or something like that. It's tough. It's a lot to ask. And for that reason alone, that's why I'm like kind of like a 50-50 on how, if she is, it's one of those units where if you're someone who already has her at MP level 1 or MP level 2, you see this banner as, oh, that's great. If I get her, that's another Noble Phantasm to slowly start building up to MP level 5, right? That's great. But if you're someone who's like, I don't really want to put that much investment into Archetype Earth, and you get her at Noble Phantasm 1, you're just kind of like, well, I like that it's obviously, you know, I like her because she's one of the main heroines of the entire type moon type thing, so it's kind of nice on that level. But man, and as far as the unit goes, it ends up being one of those things where it's like, oh man, I really wish that other append thing was going to be here sooner. But even then, that's still a lot of commitment that you have to kind of give into her. So it's one of those units where it's like you have to really be committed into wanting her, and if you don't want her at all, it kind of can make it a little bit tough to be yeah, it just kind of makes her a tough unit to be like, yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying here at this point. I'm very tired because I've been going on for 53 minutes long, but hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. if you get her, if you don't want to put the investment into her, it's a very big bummer of a unit to kind of get, because it's one of those units that you know in the back of your head, like, fuck, I need to get this unit fully built up before I can actually use her to the maximum ability. Where if you're someone who's already committed to that, you're just like, oh, sweet, another free Noble Phantasm that make my girl stronger. That's where it kind of boils down to. And finally, the last unit on this banner, which is Lady Avalon. Like I said, the kind of go-to for art support is Castoria, but that does not mean that the other ones are bad. Thankfully for Lady Avalon's case, they made her do things that the other one doesn't, so she fits a different kind of playstyle. One, she's able to increase crit damage by 100% on arts cards, which is different from her. She's able to give overcharge, which goes great with Castoria, because Castoria needs overcharge to get more of her it's easier to just show you than to kind of say it. She needs the anti-purge defense. As you can see here, at overcharge levels, you start to get more of them. And anti-purge, there's only one thing that can stop anti-purge, which is the ability to remove it, and not a lot of bosses have that. So she works great on that kind of level. And then on the third one, she has this ability to like reduce all enemies' MP gauge by one turn, and then also charge her own MP, which is pretty sick. It's pretty nice. And then Noble Phantasm also gives her crit stars every turn, so she ends up being one of those units who, and she increases party's max HP, so she ends up being and also gives them an MP gauge every turn, so she's able to give them at least 5% every turn. You can see that they gave her literally everything that Castoria doesn't have, which makes her a very good art support, because it's filling a niche that Castoria doesn't have. The one issue that I do have with her, which is obvious because it's the same one that shares with Merlin, she doesn't actually give very much to herself, because she only gives the party's MP gauge up by 20%. So you can't like double Merlin, because that only gives 40%. But you can double Merlin. You can can't double Lady Avalon. But if you do Lady Avalon and one Castoria, you should be good pen But there are still some teams that you could do the double Lady Avalon. You just had to make sure that they have like a 30% starting NP, a pen skill on them, and then 50% to NP to give them as well. There's ways around it, so you can take advantage of that full NP damage stuff. And that is female banner number 7. Next is a quick water break because I'm starting to lose my voice. Give me 1 second. Alright, I'm back from my water break, and I also have water with me. Let's continue on, shall we? We have female banner number 8 next. A 1 in 4 chance of Britomart, Huanzhou, Senno Rikyu, or Cuckoo. The big hit on this one is very obvious. It is Cuckoo. Oh boy. Kukulkan is one of the best current AoE busters in the game. I can say that even fully knowing I have a big bias because mine's MP level 5. I love this unit so much. It's a very good unit. Their gimmick here being that they can increase the levels of their skill if you want to pay in an optional 10 crit stars, which is really nice. It means that a lot of her skills can become stronger while also still being on a base level really good. All the crit stars provide is something just slightly better. With this second skill, by the way, I want to give a shout out. The fact that this is a 50% MP charge that you can give to any ally, and then for 10 crit stars also give them evasion and ignore evasion is very funny. There's not a lot of like non-main focus support units that can just give someone 50% MP gauge, and it's hilarious that they gave this to her. She has a big focus around crit stars, so you would think that it'd be kind of hard to build around it, but actually it's not very hard because Vich herself gives 20 on... She can give a decent amount of them on turn 1 to let you be able to use all 3 of the skills if you want. Her own passive skill gives 10 crit stars every turn, so even if you did it the slow way around, you could still at least activate one of these extra bonus skills if you wanted. Also, this skill, while also doing that, also charges her MP gauge by 3% every turn, and then also converts any stack of invincibility into anti-purge defense, which is just a hilarious thing on top of everything to kind of be good. She also has the ability of just increasing party's debuff success rate by 8% while she's on the field. I didn't even know she did this. That's a sign of a good unit when you're just like, I did not know you were this good. My bad. And her Noble Phantasm, if you're using it every turn, gives 30 crit stars. It's a hilarious unit. She is insanely good. I love my girl Kukula Khan. Obviously, the instant pick for foreigner for me. If they were ever to allow us to do grand foreigners, I would make her my grand foreigner any day of the week. So I would understand going for the 1 in 4 chance of her here. The one problem is there's a very big elephant in the room that we have to talk about, which is a huge miss, which I'll get there after I talk about some of the other good units on here. Next, Huanzhou. I'm just going to go over her because very quickly, just to say, she's just a very good AoE assassin, which just not a lot of people need an AoE assassin. An AoE quick assassin at that is something that most people don't want, but if you do want her because she is a very cool looking unit with her big ass hat, or here she is with the cool just normal look here, no hat, or this cool outfit that she has here, it makes her a very good unit. She's able to kind of take advantage of the fact that she's being used with Summer Scotty, so she'll be buffing her quick and her busters alongside her. You know, just makes her a very good solid unit that you want to use with Summer Scotty. It's just that most people don't like using AoE assassins. Unless they're, I guess, a unit they specifically really like. Or they're just using Tez, which is actually the true answer. If you want an AoE assassin, most people just go for Tez. But he's in arts. If you wanted it for quick, then you'd want to go with her. The other unit is Senno Rikyo. This is currently the go-to quick berserker on our side of the game, who eventually gets replaced on... which is very sad because I think it's next year she gets replaced. Which is very sad because I think around the time we got her, I think it wasn't that long where they said, like, hey, here's your replacement. It's Louis. And Louis' not even limited. Louis is just in every banner you could just randomly get. So even if you wanted to actually avoid getting Louis for your Senno Rikyu, there's still a chance for you to randomly get Louis, and she would be better than Rikyu over here. Which is a shame to Rikyu, actually, because I think Rikyu is actually a fantastic quick berserker as it stands right now. Because like I said, it's similar to the go-to kind of for Buster is either Arjuna Alter or Morgan. For arts, it's Summer Ibuki, and for quick on our side, it's Rikyu. I even know some people who want to get Rikyu for that reason alone. I still think that they're a very good unit. It's just that there's a unit coming out that is going to be better than them because they can also be used in like multi-core type farming stuff scenarios. You know, power creep is what it is, but that doesn't change that Rikyu is still pretty cool. So they get a check mark in my book as a good unit that you'd want to get as a positive. Brittle Mart is one of the one that's kind of hard to love, which is a damn shame because I love Brittle Mart. You can see here, she looks cool in the armor. If you're one of those people who are like, why don't they make females in really cool armor? She literally has the really cool armor. And then if you're one of those dudes who are just like, what happened to like really hot women? She's also really hot women. And then she even has an additional costume in her Noble Phantasm that you can't use as an actual costume ascension. She has almost everything except for the fact that they made her a Lancer that is anti-rider. So she doesn't have a... So she ends up being a little bit awkward to use. She's really good if you're fighting riders, but the problem is that this woman does not have a bonus against riders. It's not like she gets a skill that says, like, by the way, have class advantage against riders. No, she doesn't. She still deals neutral damage to them. It's just that she also deals 150% extra damage. Even this riding skill, I don't know how many archers have riding. Let me see here as far as servants go. If we can see here, probably a decent amount based off of this. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 servants who are archers who have riding. Yeah, it's, she does get buffed a little bit, which does help a little bit on the damage-wise. The main issue here is that she just doesn't deal enough damage to get her NP back, which is the main issue I've had while using her. And currently, I think Brittle Mart I think it might have changed after this buff, but I know Bradamante, when she gets her buff, she kind of like has she ends up being better than Brittle Mart for a while up until this buff, which is kind of a shame because Bradamante is another unit I really like, but Bradamante is also not good. She's like middling at best, and these two are fighting it out to see which one of them is the slightly better Quick Lancer. It's not a great look. I'm not gonna lie. I love my girl Brittle Mart. and I wish that she was better. But among these four, she's the very obvious like weak spot of it. So you have to, if you love Brittlemark like me, and you wouldn't mind having Brittlemark on you, and you will put up with and deal with the issues that she has, then this banner is great for you. But if you're someone who's just like, actually no, I deeply care about meta defining, and I don't care about the cool armor, or I don't care about the cool everything else, like get away that 4th Ascension, I don't care. All I care about is her ability to grind. That's the only true ability I care about. Take this away from me. Then it's kind of like, yeah, then this banner is really rough because one of these units is a bomb, basically. Let's move on to the final female banner, which is female banner number 9, which has a 1 in 4 chance of Saber Medusa, Durga, Pope Joan, and Tiamat. Okay, so these are all the new female banners for this year so far. It's except Draco, obviously. So if you've been missing out on all those banners for this year because you're like, oh no, I need to save for Lost Belt 6 Summer, this is a great banner for you because you could just literally pick up one of the newer servants that are on the women's side easy for basically free for 15 Sand Quartz. You get to not suffer like some of the other people have. Like, it's a pretty good deal. The main issue here is all 3 of these dudes I would consider really good, and the other one is Pope Joan. Pope Joan is a little bit on the weak side. If you want to know how kind of like weak Pope Joan is, I was having trouble with grinding with her during her event where she has a power bonus. Yeah, not the greatest sign in the world. She does have some interesting stuff in that she's able to give crit damage to arts cards. The problem is that she just isn't. It's just not enough. She needs to give more stuff in general. It's just she just doesn't deal enough damage because she has to deal with the fact that she's ruler. So if you're not someone fighting specifically a man attribute in your Noble Phantasm, she's not going to be able to... An evil man at that, you're not going to be able to kind of kill him. And then on the follow-ups, you might be able to get them with the crit damage, but it's not enough. She really does need a little bit more, which is a shame because I do like Pope Joan. Apocrypha be damned. I don't care if she wasn't a real pope. As a Catholic, I still try and support my Pope Joan, which I think makes me... I think that makes me an enemy of the church now that I think about it. Well, if you don't tell the Pope on me, I'll be fine. I really like Pope Joan. I wish she was a little bit better. That's my main thing. If you're someone who's similar to a Britomart situation where you can learn to love them, then I think that's perfectly fine. Then this banner is just literally all hits, all gas. But if you're not someone like that, then Pope Joan is kind of the one to look out for. Durga summons from the fact that we're going to have a man... a man archer very soon that is going to kind of like usurp her. So she's a very solid AoE arts archer, with the main issue being coming up. There's a better one coming with Ptolemaeus, who is... Oh no, he's Buster. Wrong. He's an AoE arts unit, actually. He's both. He's like Melusane, which makes him super cool. And I like that about him. So it means that I would kind of want him. So if you want him, it makes Durga kind of a tough choice because it means like, oh, but if I get Durga, Durga's going to be replaced. And I'm going to be putting a lot of time and investment. A lot. At least her skills don't use any of the new... Oh, she does use some of the new material. That's a rough one. What I'll say is it's very rough. If all you care about is power. If you don't care about power, then you got your big snake woman right here. Now, funny enough, when I was talking about Durga last time, when I was talking about like, oh yeah, here's Durga, she's a pretty solid unit, a lot of the pushback I got was like, get away from me, snake woman. Your boobs mean nothing to me. They don't faze me. And I think it was likely the very small portion of my female audience rising up and saying, we won't let your chest distract us. We're here for Bima's chest, which I respect on a base level. But it was funny to see. There was actually a decent amount of people who were like, no, the Sakura face does nothing for me. The snake part of her art does nothing for me. It's crazy to me because I think she's a fantastic looking unit. Obviously a soccer face, so that's good for that. And I still think she, even though she gets power crept in the same year, she's still usable and stuff like that. So I'd still be kind of happy to have her. Saber Medusa is currently still being a banner unit right now. So if you miss out on Saber Medusa, you can get her. She's a really good single target Saber, with the main issue being which is a big one. These fucking skills take 72 Vestige of Madness. 72 Vestige of Madness. Do you want to know how many of these fucking things I have right now? 6. And I need 72. She's going to be 888 skills for a very long time, and for most people, they'll be 888 skills for a long time. It's the only negative I really have about her. Other than that, I think she's cool. And then we have Tiamat, who is also very cool, because you can also grind with her the Black Grail, because she has a third skill that will give her 20%. 10% party charge, which is pretty cool. Pretty nice. I do say pretty cool pretty often, but that's how you can tell the video is about an hour long. Because there's only so much I can say about a unit to say just, hey, they're pretty cool. With the one negative being is that the negative thing about her is that she has alter ego, so sometimes it's a little bit awkward to use her. I've had that come up a little bit where it's like, okay, well, she's really good against one of these units, but not the other one. But that's something that all alter egos kind of share. It's the same thing is true about Super Bunyan. It's something inherently wrong with, and Bazette, it's something that's just inherently wrong with the class and not the unit itself. Whoo! And with that, that's all 9 female banners. You know what that means? We're not done. Because there is another. There's the men's side. So it's time to take a sip of my water for the last of it. And talk about these men. So, we have on the men's side. First, let's talk about the 4 stars that will be included in all the banners. We have Hajime, Kaisuke, Roland, Suna, Don Quixote, Percival, Canis, Huang Feihu, Zhang Yu, and Duryodhan, which obviously the Zhang Yu being the 1 3-star that you will get on these banners. And now we'll talk about the 3 banners. The first one is a 1 in 3 chance for Muramasa, Kagekyo, or Domin. This is really nice. I've already said what I've had to say about Domin and Kagekyo. But Muramasa is a big fan favorite because he obviously is based off of Shiro. So anyone who likes Muramasa, a 1 in 3 chance of Muramasa is very good. The one thing I'll say is that I've heard from Muramasa fans, in my head, Muramasa was still a really good Saber AoE, but I've heard from most recent Muramasa fans that it can be a little bit tough to use him because he's aged a little bit. The power creep has gotten a little bit crazier now, where if you don't have one that has like heavy Noble Phantasm in him, you will suffer a little bit compared to some other ones. But that's just power creep kind of charging forward. It means that they probably have to give him a buff of some kind, and when that buff happens, he's going to be insane. But it's something to keep in mind of. That's something I wouldn't really know myself because I don't have Muramasa, and in my head I was just like, I'm sure Muramasa is still usable, but I'm hearing reports from actual Muramasa fans who will say like, hey, we love our man, but he is a little bit old now. He needs a little bit of help, but you know, understandable. So that's man banner number 1. Man banner number 2 is a 1 in 5 chance of Charlemagne, Sakamoto Ryoma, Konstantinos, Ruler Moriarty, and Oberon. If you are summoning on this banner, it means that you want Oberon. Oberon is one of the best support units in the game in a generic sense. Doesn't matter if you need him for arts, doesn't matter if you need him for buster, doesn't matter if you need him for quick, it doesn't matter if you just need him in general. Oberon is really good because he can give 70% for 2 Noble Phantasms across the board, no problem. His third skill can give a massive amount of damage at a massive downside. It basically kills the unit by giving him forever sleep and making him unusable for the remainder of the game. And there's no way to remove it. So I think Oberon is kind of one of those obvious supports that, like, once you get the one main support, like if you get Vitch, the next thing you need to do is get Oberon. If you get Castoria, the next thing that you should look to get is actually Oberon. If you get Scotty, Summer Scotty, the next thing I would suggest is probably trying to get Oberon. He's just that insanely good and that worth owning. I don't see them ever kind of being able to replace Oberon because his power is just that strong, and there's a reason why he's also a part of Lost Belt 6 Summer. Because he's a fan favorite for a reason. Next, we have the other units that are on here. So let's say you miss on him. The one big bummer on here is going to be Konstantinos. I like Konstantinos, but he's a very defense-focused writer. And I'll say that for the time being, not a lot of people like those type of units. For the Grand Rider battle, when that comes out, this Noble Phantasm will be a big help because they can increase parties' Buster performance for 3 turns. It can give them invincibility for 1 attack over 3 turns, and then it can also reduce the damage taken of any Roman allies, which I think there has to be a couple of Roman riders besides him, right? No, it's just him. That's unfortunate. That will just basically go unused. But at least for that one, you have the ability to give invincibility and some attack, and then on overcharge, also give them more defense for that one single turn, which is 100%, and also increase their MP damage for 3 turns. It's not bad. The problem is that currently in the game, this is how it is for us. You can see that that is not good. That is actively kind of bad. But when this buff happens, he does become really good. With some people saying that, I know for a fact that a lot of people saying this base version that we got was one of the worst, which is funny because when I did the video talking about Konstantinos, I said I thought he was really good. I actually thought the defensive aspects of him were neat, and then when I finished recording that video, I saw that everyone thought that Konstantinos was one of the worst 5 stars in the game. So I understand that there's a difference of opinion there. That's why I'm trying to give you what I feel and then what also I've seen other people say. I will say that once he got that buff, people were a little bit nicer on him because they're like, finally, at least he can do something else. The other units on here, we have Charlemagne. Charlemagne is a very just solid AoE quick unit. Nothing more to say about that. He does eventually get a Newsy style hat, which is cool. I can't wait for that. I have him here, and he's able to... A lot of quick units can suffer from not being able to do a full loop. In my experience at MP level 1, he's pretty good at it. I don't have very many issues outside of me fucking up occasionally. We have Sakamoto Ryoma, who's a very just good AoE Lancer. Doesn't reach the same levels of some other AoE Lancer. Funny, for arts he does. But if in the grander scheme of like, does it compare to Melisane? No, but it's okay because he's not Buster, he's arts. And he's a very good arts Lancer at that, so it's pretty good. Plus, I like him in general. Plus, this is another Paco servant. Paco servants are cool. Then we have Ruler Moriarty. Ruler Moriarty is probably at the moment one of the best ruler AoE units in the game, with the ability to deal bonus damage to good alignments, and then he also has this ability that turns them evil for 3 turns. And then on the evil side, you can actually use his first skill to reduce their arch resistance, so you're able to do further damage to them. I think he's pretty nice. The only thing that he has is this: he has a little bit of RNG on his 3rd skill, but considering all this 3rd skill does is give a random buff of crit star absorption to arts or buster cards, it's not the greatest thing in the world. Plus it just gives 20 crit stars. It's one of those things that's probably better for like a challenge quest type scenario, which me and my brother did use him in a challenge quest, and thanks to him we were able to win, even though there was one doubter who said that he wasn't going to clutch it. He clutched it. I want you to remember that at the end of the day. And finally, we reached the last man banner, and soon my Sisyphus nightmare is going to be over, because we're going to talk about the last man banner, which is a 1 in 3 chance of Takatsuji, Tez, or Rasputin, Gregory Rasputin. Tez is kind of the go-to best AoE assassin in the game. He kind of is better than all of them. He's on a completely different pedestal. He's also a fan favorite because he, believe it or not, is also a part of Lost Belt 6 Summer. He's that much of a fan that even though he's the most loved character in Lost Belt 6, Lost Belt 7, that he made his way into Lost Belt 6 Summer somehow, and he got his own banner during it. Now we're just waiting for them to give him a swimsuit of some kind. But he's really good. He has this cool thing where he's able to give more attack to Guts allies. He's able to give himself Guts and also give bonus damage to Divinity, the super large, and then just nullify the Sunlight Battlefield if it's active. His charger is a 50% charger while also giving 30% to the other 2 party members, while also giving invincibility. It does have the downside of you'll have invincibility buff block for 1 time over 3 turns. Which is a demerit, which is pretty bad, but if you're using someone like Castoria, you can just simply get rid of that effect. And then you can use his invincibility plus Castoria's anti-purge defense to just create a big fucking wall to prevent your opponent from really hitting you. He also has this skill that also gives master skill values 10% more when he's on the field, which is pretty funny that he just has that. And his Noble Phantasm is also very good. It also charges the party's MP gauge by 10%, so even with one single Noble Phantasm and this second skill, he's able to charge the party's MP gauge by at least 40%. And then you include the 30% that both Castorias give to everyone. That's 60%. That's an easy double charge for both of them. They're both on there. Tez, he's the man. I love him. He's really good. Rasputin over here, or as some other people like to call him as, Kotomine, because he is using Kirei's Bade. He has a third skill that can make him undying, which is very funny. That's the main thing I know about him. I don't know too much about him. I just know that he can forever stay alive if you're good enough for it. I think I remember seeing one video where someone like was able to increase the death chance of like he was able to survive it 10 times. Which was fucking very funny, where they just kept trying to kill him and it just didn't work out at all. And every single time he does get Guts activated, he increases the party's NP damage by 20%. He also is able to give Taunt to himself for 3 turns. Very, very good. Very cool unit. I love the way that it plays on Rasputin, along with Kirei being very hard to kill. Very cool unit. As we have calmed down in the last 20 minutes to determine there's a lot of cool units in FGO right now. And the last one is Takatsuji. He's the weak point of the newer man banners. I still think he looks really cool. I like that he goes Super Saiyan God. I like them in the story. The one thing that's kind of a negative is that his Noble Phantasm isn't the greatest. It kind of is just generic. Maybe it's not fair to say not the greatest. Maybe it's just too generic for me. I think that's my main issue with him, is that he just feels kind of generic to me. So he doesn't really have anything, like, pop out to him. Like, when it comes to Rasputin, I can, like, look at Rasputin and be like, oh, yeah, no, he has the infinite guts. That's really cool. Tez has a bunch of all this other stuff. And then Takatsuji is just like, yo, dog, do you like Quicken Arts? Do you want to see me hit with Quicken Buster cards? Because I can do that. And then I can also reduce skill cooldowns by 1. One ally. It can be me, it can be them, it can be anything. At least this also lets him be able to use with Archetype Earth. Because this will be nice as a quick, like, hey, just quickly give her cooldowns by 1. Thank you, my friend. And now you can go away. Never to be seen again. I mean, he can also increase the party's quick and buster attack up by 20% as well. So it's got a nice little pseudo defense. But he's definitely one of those just like, you know, maybe this will be a little bit better with the Grand Archer fight. Because he's a supporter. You know what I mean? And finally, that is it. Everyone, we made it to the end. It's an hour and 20-minute long video. I'm going to have to do the 10-minute short version. I said at the beginning of one, hey, if you ask for it, I'm just going to leave a comment saying I'm already working on the 10-minute version. I thank you very much if you made it all the way to the end of this one, though. I appreciate it. I'm always surprised when anyone sees any of these videos and makes it to the end. I appreciate you guys a whole bunch. Especially because these take a lot of time and effort. I spent all of yesterday. I released a video of me playing Breath of the Wild, which is just me going, man, I was working on that video for so long. I was recording for 2 hours, but I had actually been writing everything that I wanted to say down for about 5, if you include that process, it was about 5 hours. It was kind of crazy. It was insane. So I'm happy to finally be here at the end. Thank you very much for watching. If you are somehow looking forward for the 10-minute video, don't worry about it. It's coming. And then probably a 1-minute version later on. Maybe. Who knows? I really did like that last year someone asked for a 10-minute version, then I released that one, and someone asked for the minute shorts version, and then I released that. It's my only short. If you go look at it, it's the only short I've ever released. Very funny. But anyway, it's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you want to show support, leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I appreciate you all the best. I wish you all the best of luck on your GSSRs. I don't know which one of these I'm actually going to pick, now that I think about it. And I'll be back to talk about the other GSSR in like another couple days. Till next time, everyone. Peace out. Goodbye.